Hey, Andrea. I gotta go, Star. I'll call you back. Hey, I was just waiting to see if somebody came up here because I was trying to do it on you from YouTube, but I couldn't do it from YouTube, so I came back in here. This is a good one. I said I was going to start there, so it's time. I'll start. Anybody else see it? They'll come up. Anyway, let me start it for everybody, for you, and if nobody else come, that's okay too. So
Crystal, take it away.
Yeah,
This is about
so this
Candace
is
Owens and Ben
interesting. So you
Shapiro.
guys will recall Candace Owens fired from Daily Wire over it. I mean, she had voiced legitimately, I would say, anti-Semitic things, but the thing that really got her fired was when she was consistently critical of the Israeli government. After she's fired, I don't know if you guys follow this, there was a whole back and forth between her and Jeremy Boring and Shapiro about like, all right, let's debate, right? And there was some negotiation about when and how and whatever. And it seemed like there was an agreement about timing and, you know, structure and no moderation and all this stuff, but the debate never happened. So people have been going, well, what the hell happened here? Why didn't this debate happen? Well, Glenn Greenwald got the scoop. Apparently, the Daily Wire, while they were publicly pretending like they wanted to do this debate with Candace, they were privately using a private arbitrator to issue a gag order against her so that she can't say anything. And by the way, and so that's the real reason the debate hasn't happened, is because they issued a gag order against her. And by the way, in obtaining this gag order, the things that they cited as her, they said, okay, she had a non-disparagement agreement. She violated that. And what they used as evidence of her violating it was that she had publicly asked for a debate. And then she had liked some tweets that were critical of the Daily Wire. That was their case.
That's
for
enough to get a gag order?
How she had disparaged them, and yes, that they used in order to get a gag order.
That can legally allow you to get a gag order.
Apparently.
Okay, so my first thought is that, remember the fight between Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder?
Yes.
Where Steven Crowder was going around,
yes.
They only offered me $50 million. Yeah. This is slavery.
Yeah.
Everybody in the world who's reasonable looked at that and was like, Steven Crowder's a fucking idiot. And the Daily Wire was under. I actually liked the way they handled that. Jeremy Boring, the CEO of Daily Wire, came out and he literally showed line by line the contract that was offered to Steven Crowder. And he was like, look, even if he doesn't like it, this was an opening offer. He had, he could have, counter-offered and we'd be having the conversation. Instead, he decided to go nuclear on us and call us sellouts and things of that nature, right?
Right.
What the Daily Wire did here is such a fucking Steven Crowder-esque move. Steven Crowder has been gagging not gay Jared, who, by the way, I'm sure is very not gay, because his name is not gay Jared.
That's
right?
everything you need to know.
So he's been gagging. That sounds sexual. He's been gagging him with his balls and his cock. This segment's going off the rails. And he's gagged a lot of his other employees as well with his dick and balls. Still off the rails. All right, I'm gonna try to get the train back on the tracks here. But like the whole Steven Crowder is like a petty authoritarian in the workplace. That's what he is. Yeah. On top of being a sexual assaulter and teabagging people and all sorts of. That guy's got serious problems, man. He's got serious psychosexual problems. That's obvious.
Yeah.
But that's what this is. Like, okay, look, I would actually understand the perspective of Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire if they were just like, look, I don't take Candace Owens seriously. I actually think it was a mistake to hire her. I think she's a joke of a commentator. I don't think she has any idea what the fuck she's talking about fucking anything. I think she's a grifter. I think she picked a lane. If they said all that and then said, that's why we're not going to debate her, I don't take her seriously, I'd be like, look, I understand people disagreeing with that, but it's a fair position. Fine. Fair enough, right?
Right.
But that's not what they're doing. They're pretending like we're going to debate her, and then they're doing a gag order, and they're like, we're never going to debate you.
So weaselly.
It's so fucking weaselly. It's so weaselly.
Especially since Ben Shapiro is, he's such a like, free speech and ideas and debate me, whatever. I mean, he wrote a whole book about like, what was his book? Destroying Liberals with Facts and Logic or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, he had some dumb book about like how to win every argument or something, and he sells mugs that say like liberal tears on it, and it's like, stop pretending like you're the guy.
Tough guy.
I'm in favor of reasonable discourse. Like, no, your whole thing is I'm gonna own the other side no matter fucking what, even if I gotta lie and use Weasley tactics.
It's really something when you're putting me in the corner of defending Candace Owens. But
I know,
there's just like no doubt here that this is such skeezy, like Weasley underhanded behavior to publicly.
Yeah. This is interesting. I find this interesting because they intend to do a job on her, and they can't be doing it. Ben Shapiro can't be doing it to a better person than her, because this girl I would have loved to see her debate him, because she doesn't know nothing and he doesn't know nothing. I wish they would have a debate, but I don't know. So we'll see. But I don't know who these two jerks are. I've never seen them before in my life. I just happened to pick up on the. I was sitting here in the kitchen cooking, and I have a tendency of sitting on the couch and falling asleep. So I decided to sit at the table and look at things and look through things, and I saw it. But I don't know if I really want to see the debate, because I wanted to see how she's going to try to weasel herself out of there, because I'm pretty sure that's the one thing you don't do. Anybody who knows anything knows you do not come at the Jewish community. And I didn't even know the girl went after the Jewish government. That's a no-no. No matter how wrong Netanyahu is, they're not going to let other people disparage him. And they used her and let her talk about black people like a dog. And this is what they do for her. But I say good for her. I'm going to let you hear the rest of it. That's crazy. Yeah.
So we go, name a time. We'll be there. We want to have this debate. And then behind the scenes, you're like,
Judge,
please help me. Make sure she can never say anything about us.
Please.
She's so mean.
Please help me.
Do you see this? She publicly asked us for a debate. How could she? This is disparagement. Unbelievable.
And
it's so embarrassing for them.
In an Israel debate, Ben Shapiro is super well versed on the Israeli Hasbara.
Oh, yeah.
And he would crush Candace Owens in that. He would crush her.
Difficult.
No, I think he would crush her.
You think so?
Yes, I mean, he's wrong about all of it, but he knows enough stuff, and he knows the Israeli Hasbara playbook where he has an answer for everything.
You're not going to catch him off guard.
You're not going to catch him off guard. He knows every single fucking dumb response, but he sells it well, right? And I think he'd crush Candace, and instead of doing that, he's doing this.
So here's what Glenn writes in his piece. He says, while the company claimed before the arbitrator that it did not object in principle to a, quote, healthy debate, it urged the imposition of a gag order on Owens by claiming that the way she requested the debate constituted disparagement of Shapiro and the site. To justify the gag order it wanted, the company also cited various criticisms of the Daily Wire and Shapiro on X that Owens had liked. That was it. At least according to Glenn, that was it.
So
that
petty.
was her disparagement.
And remember, you pointed this out, but remember when Candace Owens made the argument that, like, look, if Hitler was just trying to make Germany great again, that'd be one thing. The problem is he was a globalist and he went beyond his borders. Right. It's like, that's not really the main problem with Hitler.
Right. Well, and he hired her after that. That was
that's my point.
Yeah.
But then when it crossed the line, Kate defended her even when she was doing the whole Kanye defense, when he was like, I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on the Jews or whatever it was. Right. She was even still defending him when he did his pro-Hitler meltdown, saying, I love Hitler.
That's right.
And there was no consequences. Again, the time where there were consequences was when, after October 7th, right? And there, all of a sudden, a month in or whatever, there's a lot of criticism of the Israeli government. She echoed some of them, and then it's like, gone.
You actually, I mean, you see this kind of commonly on the right, where like actual like aggressive neo-Nazism and whatever, or like Kanye or Candace's comments, etc. That's fine. Just don't criticize the state of Israel.
Yeah.
That's the hard line.
That marriage, by the way, that marriage is ethno-staters loving ethno-staters.
Yeah.
That's why there's a little bit of a,
Yeah.
There were don't fight each other mentality with the white supremacists and the Zionists.
Yeah, as an example, there were neo-Nazis marching in Charleston, West Virginia. They were fine with, but oh my God, on college campuses, they don't like the war. We've got to completely destroy free speech and send in a fucking 1,000 NYPD cops and crack their skulls and whatever. They're practically terrorists. But actual neo-Nazis marching, no, we're good with that. That's fine.
That's it. Maybe I'll do something else. I don't know if anybody's still watching, but that was that. So I would have loved to seen that debate. I really would love to see that debate. Here's something else. this Jim Jordan.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders said that the divide in America today is normal versus crazy. You can go down the list of crazy policies that the left now has. Like, it's crazy to have an open border.
Correct.
But in the context we're talking about today, some of the crazy policies, is it crazy to defund the police?
100%.
Crazy. It just makes no sense, right? Is it crazy not to say bad guys who violate the law should be prosecuted and let them go free? Is that crazy?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
When you have a district attorney who doesn't prosecute the bad
Yes,
guys,
that's crazy.
That's crazy,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Not following the law. And here's the problem. Craziness has consequences. How short is the Philadelphia Police Department today in police officers?
So we just, I believe yesterday, got rid of our 6th police district, which covered Center City. So now they combined with the 9th district because of lack of manpower. The 8th district is geographically gigantic. It could take from one corner to the other almost 20, 25 minutes, lights and sirens, meaning, pedestrians get out of the way, cars are supposed to pull over.
Is there a number? Is there a number short? Are you hundreds of officers short?
Thousands.
Thousands of officers short?
So in the 8th district, there'll be times where there's 2 radio cars and maybe a wagon to cover an area that's.
So there's a consequence that you don't have enough police officers to do the job when you defund the police and you don't prosecute the bad guys.
Correct.
But the real consequences are what happened to the Fitzgerald family, to Marisa, who lost a husband, to Mrs. O'Connor, who lost. Those are the real consequences, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I thought Dr. Fitzgerald said something really insightful in his life. He said a lot of insightful things, but one of the things that stuck out to me was he said, criminals aren't stupid. They're just bad. They know the fact that you are thousands of officers short.
Absolutely.
They know that if they do something wrong, that this, what did you call him? Let him go, Larry?
That's correct. Let him go,
yeah,
Larry.
Let him go, Larry is going to let him go, right?
Yes.
They know all that because they're not stupid. They're just bad guys, and bad guys need to be prosecuted. And in order to catch the bad guys, you need officers on the street. And right now, Philadelphia is lacking in both. They don't have enough officers on the street, and they don't have a prosecutor who will go after the bad guys if the officers who are on the street can actually catch them.
Correct.
That's the situation.
Yes. Do you want the honest truth of what's going on?
Sure do.
Police officers are afraid to do their job because Krasner is looking to hang every one of them.
You got to the next point. The next point is, and if they go out there and do their job, they're afraid that the press is going to come after them, or maybe worse yet, Mr. Krasner, who was the officer that was your friend, one of your colleagues who you worked with in the police, who Mr. Krasner took to court. What was his name?
Joe Bologna.
Joe Bologna. Right?
Absolutely. There's
That's
nothing
the
wrong with that
situation.
arrest. Yep.
And it goes back to what the good governor of Arkansas said. It's all craziness. It's just crazy to do it that way. I got 2 minutes left. I want to go to Dr. Fitzgerald because I knew you wanted to respond to something Mr. Nadler said, and then I want to yield any other time to our chairman of the crime committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to respond by saying the objective here is not to invalidate or validate, let's say, for our family's purposes, the death penalty. We will stand up and with anyone who's unfairly prosecuted and unfairly sentenced because of bad policing. What we have here is bad prosecutorial actions or inaction. We won't stand for that. So we have rules for a reason, laws for a reason. And when our district attorney selectively, if not even prejudicially, right, determines what it is that he will and
community to also benefit from this new change.
Andrew, this is about this is Roland Martin. He's talking about them reclassifying marijuana. I don't know. I think they should put a tax on it because, I mean, the kids are doing it, and if they tax it, people won't want it as much, you know? So I don't know. I'm going to listen to this and see, you know, see what you think of this. I'm kind of mixed on the subject, you know. So
healthcare. So it's like every other
staff, and nearly all of their shows have also been canceled. I'll give you those details. Plus, a recap of the 17th annual George Lopez Celebrity Golf Classic in Los Angeles. It is time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the mess, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real the best. You know he's Roland Martin Martin.
Folks, since 1971, marijuana has been classified as a Schedule 1 drug, defined as a drug with no accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. Well, that is now changed. The DEA is expected to reclassify marijuana from the most strict Schedule 1 to the less stringent Schedule 3. This is the first time the U.S. government is acknowledging its potential medical benefits. Dr. Shonda Macy is the founder of the National Holistic Healing Center, joins us from Washington, D.C. Shonda, glad to have you here. So explain to people why this is a huge decision.
For our community. The first thing, the impact that it has is that it opens up the access for patients. Patients feel more comfortable using cannabis as medicine because now the government is saying it is actually medicinal benefits in using it. So we're so excited that the government is just finally accepting and sharing the news that we've known for decades, and that we've been fighting for our rights for legalization to just be able to have access to health care. So that's the underlying issue that we're dealing with today. But there's also implications on what it looks like for small business owners that are of brown and black communities, social equity, and what it looks like for us in the taxation realm. So for every dollar that we generate in cannabis, 70 cents of that goes to the federal government on taxes. So now with the rescheduling of cannabis, this actually allows us to normalize our taxation and get taxed like every other business in the United States. So we can actually now start to generate a profit.
But again, well, they're focusing on the health benefits. And so what we have seen is a lot of focus on this over the last several years. We have seen the NFL, the NBA also change their position when it comes to the health benefits as well. And so, you know, this is a dramatic move by the DEA, and one that people have been demanding for a very long time.
Definitely. And not only that, Roland, what's interesting about this rescheduling is that it opens up for more access to research. So now you'll start to see more pharmaceutical companies come in, do more research, but it also allows pharmaceutical companies to come in, cultivate, manufacture, sell, and distribute cannabis along with us small businesses. So this is kind of like a tricky place, but for us, in terms of our community, what is so powerful about rescheduling is that Black and Brown communities that were targeted, that have been incarcerated for cannabis, we'll see less and less of those incarcerations. And so we have a long way to go, but we'll take our victory today because we know that incremental change is really going to help us on the long run. But we just have to get situated, and making this progress today will definitely impact our community in the future.
I want to bring in my panel right now, Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice with the EPA, Joseph out of D.C., Randy Bryant, DEI disruptor, also out of D.C., Joe Richardson, civil rights attorney out of L.A. Glad to have all three of you here. Joe, I'll start with you. Your question for Doc regarding this decision.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm glad to hear this news. This is good news. So I wonder, thinking about this, you've been on this crusade for quite some time. And when I say that, I mean that there's been a lot of work and effort, blood, sweat, and tears toward getting the government to move along to where we actually are, the state of marijuana, the medicinal values, et cetera. What would you say, having accomplished this, would be your next frontier? What are some other barriers related to this issue that you would like to see come down?
Well, we know that the cannabis laws have been intertwined in systemic racism since the inception. And in 1971, as Roland pointed out, is that with the Substance Control Act, it classified it as heroin. So what we need to do is systematically unwind all of the racial barriers that we've seen that have been implemented through policy, through laws, and then really find a good way for our community to be able to expunge their previous convictions and institute more voting rights. And I think like that is the most fundamental thing we can do for our community, because we know that if we have the right to vote, we can say who's in power.
Thank you.
Mustafa.
Yeah, well, thank you for being with us. You know, we know that, as mentioned earlier, there are a number of different health benefits. So benefits from cancer, lowering blood pressure, anxiety, a number of different things that are associated with cannabis. Do you feel that this will also open the door, because you mentioned earlier about research, and often people are a bit hesitant when there's a controlled substance that's a part of their research. So I'm wondering your thoughts on that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, when I was a couple of decades ago, when I was a student at Howard University studying prostate cancer in men, you know, one of the major barriers I had was the simple fact that I couldn't study it. And so for me, especially with cancers like prostate that disproportionately impacts our community, it's important for me to find a way that men, Black men, have a sustainable life and be able to have access to true health care. So now we can do this with the rescheduling. Literally, this rescheduling puts cannabis in the same category as Tylenol. And so with that, we can actually start to look at those fundamental healthcare issues that can start to change lives. And when I say change lives, but throughout all diseases, all disease states, we can really start to introspect on what impacts that cannabis can have on sustaining the human life.
Randy.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that this happened. I know it was a long time coming, and I'm certainly very happy that they are going to change the scheduling, but I can't help but to just wonder about equity. You know, many of our brothers and sisters have been locked up and remain locked up because of just having small amounts of marijuana. And I also worry about, you know, the wealth gap they talk about all the time. How, you know, the federal government, of course, is going to make quite a bit of money, which is why I believe there's been a big push to make it, you know, to change the laws. But how will we ensure that we, Black people, will have an opportunity to also benefit from this new change?
Well, I'm going to touch on your last point first, which is that throughout the nation is the simple fact that
Axe drops will tell you who got cut, what got
The key thing with this marijuana, making it legal, is because the white boys want to get into it. They want to make money with it, and they don't. The black guys are selling it. They're going to jail now. So now that the white boys are into it, and it's just terrible. It's just terrible. So it's all about the money. The government wants the money because pretty soon they're going to sit and they are going to put a tax on marijuana and make it non-profitable for. Well, it will still be profitable because you got young boys who make 5 or 6 thousand. You know, I can remember young boys that made 10,000 a week on illicit drug sales. So if they private, if they do it and then make it make it legal, you know how much tax revenue they would get. That's what I think it's all about. Yeah, Andrea, I agree with you because I said it myself. I'm not a public figure, but I agree. As soon as I saw it when they started bombing those children, and I heard Netanyahu say out of his mouth that he was going to annihilate the Palestinian people. He's killing babies and stuff, and I said this is genocide. It's pure genocide, and they need to. They really need to, you know, to get away from that. But that is them, and and I'm not gonna stick up for I feel Candace is right, but guess what? She go as far as I'm concerned, she gonna fight her own battle. You went along with Ben Shapiro and every ass backwards thing you could think of. You could think of. You She came, she went along with it. So guess what? She reaping what she deserves. But this one time she told the truth. It is genocide, but ain't nobody there to help her because all she did was downgrade black people, you know, and you know, so it's on her to get herself out of it. But I would love to see Ben Shapiro on her debate because, first of all, both of them were stupid as hell. That would have been Dumb and Dumber debating each other. That's my opinion. But I don't know if it's going to happen. It may happen. It might not. She's losing her base. She's trying to get this thing started. Yeah, she's crying because of what she did. She dished it out. She's another Wendy Williams. She dished it out, and now that the shoe's turning, everybody's coming at her. She can't take it. But Candace Owens destroyed a lot of people. She talked about a lot of people, and I was saying she talked about George Floyd, and he has a daughter that's old enough to know, and I just thought that was ridiculous and everything. I really did. But if that's the way she want to do it, hey, that's on her. She got to get herself out of this mess. She got herself into it. Let her get herself out of it. I wouldn't give a dime to help her. But that's just me, you know. But that's me.
Who was found shot in the head in the attic of a white supremacist. We'll tell you the results of an FBI investigation. Also, the Brennan Center for Justice studied nearly 1 billion voter files and found that the gap between white and black voter turnout is increasing. Yeah, this is an alarming story. I keep telling y'all about our power. Well, this is an issue that we must address. Also, Byron Allen's Negrio lays off all of its video and podcast staff, and nearly all of their shows have also been canceled. I'll give you those details.
I don't know what's going to happen.
The 17th annual George Lopez Celebrity Golf Classic in Los
all
Angeles.
Of this stuff.
It is time to bring the funk. I'm rolling back unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
I wish I wish that November would come and go already. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Everybody's got to answer it. Everybody's got to answer, and nobody can solve the problem. You know. So, a lot of graduations were postponed. A lot of graduations were postponed. Kid, you know, you go 4 years to college and you can't even have a graduation ceremony. Come on. This is crazy. What Israel did is wrong. In my opinion, it's wrong. I'm not pro. Yeah, it's just too long. It's too long, and especially this. It never bothered me that much before because, you know, we had pretty decent people. I never watched the Republican convention, and I definitely not going to watch it this year. I'm not even going to watch the Democratic convention this year. You got all these crazy people coming. It's just I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old. I don't have the push I used to have about certain things. I could care less. All I care about is getting myself together, you know, and making sure my family is together, making sure the girls are okay, and making sure my son doing the things he need to do for him, which he is. That's not a problem. I'm not letting other people's problems like politics and stuff. Nah, I'm not letting it wear me out. No. So it's just too long. The season is way too long.
Benefits in using it. So we're so excited that the government is just finally accepting and sharing the news that we've known for decades, and that we've been fighting for our rights for legalization to just be able to have access to health care. So that's the underlying issue that we're dealing with today. But there's also implications on what it looks like for small business owners that are of brown and black communities, social equity, and what it looks like for us in the taxation realm. So for every dollar that we generate in cannabis, 70 cents of that goes to the federal government on taxes. So now with the rescheduling of cannabis, this actually allows us to normalize our taxation and get taxed like every other business in the United States. So we can actually now start to generate a profit.
But again, well, they're focusing on the health benefits, and so what we have seen is a lot of focus on this over the last several years. We have seen the NFL, the NBA also change their position when it comes to the health benefits as well. And so, you know, this is a dramatic move by the DEA, and one that people have been demanding for a very long time.
Definitely. And not only that, Roland, what's interesting about this rescheduling is that it opens up for more access to research. So now you'll start to see more pharmaceutical companies come in, do more research, but it also allows pharmaceutical companies to come in, cultivate, manufacture, sell, and distribute cannabis along with us small businesses. So this is kind of like a tricky place, but for us, in terms of our community, what is so powerful about rescheduling is that Black and Brown communities that were targeted, that have been incarcerated for cannabis, we'll see less and less of those incarcerations. And so we have a long way to go, but we'll take our victory today because we know that incremental change is really going to help us on the long run. But we just have to get situated, and making this progress today will definitely impact our community in the future.
I want to bring in my panel right now, Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental Justice with the EPA, Joseph out of D.C., Randy Bryant, DEI disruptor, also out of D.C., Joe Richardson, civil rights attorney out of L.A. Glad to have all three of you here. Joe, I'll start with you.
I don't, I'm sitting up here talking to you like there. But Andrea, I just think this is, what do you think about this? I just think this is a government set up because these young boys are making so much money dealing this marijuana. I'm not talking about heroin and fentanyl and that. I'm talking about uh, just weed, marijuana, and they want a piece of the pie. And I think they're doing that to destroy some of these young black boys, they don't all go to jail. They don't get caught, and they all don't become lifetime drug dealers. They don't do that because these younger kids are a little too smart for that. What they do is they save their money, and the majority of them, well, the ones around me that I know, they start they start their businesses with. They start business with little little diners and stuff. They buy houses. They give money to their parents or to their sisters to buy houses, put down payments on nice houses and things. So I just think it's a way the government wants to take money from them. We'll see how this works out because in the end, I do believe, like everything else, they're gonna find a way to take everything away from black people. They're gonna make it legal, and once they make it legal, it's gonna black people aren't gonna have a say so any black guys aren't gonna have a say so in it any longer. So we'll see. Anyway.
Days ago when I was a student at Howard University studying prostate cancer in men, one of the major
I agree,
barriers I
Andrea.
had was the simple fact that I couldn't study it. And so for me, and especially with cancers like prostate that disproportionately impacts our community, it's important for me to find a way that black men, can have a sustainable life and be able to have access to true health care. So now we can do this with the rescheduling. Literally, this rescheduling puts cannabis in the same category as Tylenol. And so, with that, we can actually start to look at those fundamental healthcare issues that can start to change lives. And when I say change lives, but throughout all diseases, all disease states, we can really start to introspect on what impacts that cannabis can have on sustaining the human life.
Randy.
I'm not surprised that this happened. I know it was a long time coming, and I'm certainly very happy that they're going to change the scheduling, but I can't help but to just wonder about equity. Many of our brothers and sisters have been locked up and remain locked up because of just having small amounts of marijuana. And I also worry about, the wealth gap they talk about all the time. How, the federal government, of course, is going to make quite a bit of money, which is why I believe there's been a big push to make it, to change the laws. But how will we ensure that we, Black people, will have an opportunity to also benefit from this new change?
Well, I'm going to touch on your last point first, which is that
Okay.
throughout the nation is the simple fact that social equity licenses have been issued and allowable for people of color. And that will give us the access to be able to participate in this billion-dollar industry. But I want to also erase the misconception of the billion-dollar industry. Like I said before, where we are today, every dollar that we generate in the cannabis industry, 70 cents actually goes to taxation. So we're not really making money. And if you look at what that looks like in terms of cannabis businesses today, we owe the federal government over $3 billion collectively. And so now, with the rescheduling, is only the beginning of ability to generate profit. So those social equity licenses that have been issued now can go to those that were disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs. Let me give you a great case in point. Washington, D.C. have encouraged legacy, what we call legacy or illicit market, to come up into the light, to participate in a regulated market so that they can have access to freely participate in an industry that will generate wealth that they created. And so with that, we see New York, we see all the different states coming on with this equity path. Now, is it just that easy? No. There's a lot of regulatory hurdles. There's a lot of issues surrounding social equity and funding for people who want to actually start their business. But there is the first step, which is that we're getting a license. And then from there, we have to work on the incremental change. And that incremental change, just being able to have the potential to generate some type of generational wealth, is just the beginning of trying to restore the justice that has been done on our community. So, no, is it where we want to be today? Is it headed in the right direction? Yes, it is. And now the flip flop on what you said previously, let's talk about the state of expungement right now. I remember when I went to the White House 2 years ago, and we spoke to the special advisor to the president and talked about how pardons should be issued. And less than 6 months later, the pardons were issued for simple marijuana possession. That was such a huge victory for us. But also the message was to tell all the governors to issue pardons in all the states to those that actually had marijuana possession charges. That didn't happen because a lot of governors didn't have the power to institute such change. But we see right now in Congress, there's legislation like the HOPE Act that says that expungement for low-level possessions of medical cannabis or cannabis, period, should be expunged automatically. That expungement will start to right the wrongs on our community and give us an opportunity not only to start out again, but have access to an industry that can generate generational wealth.
Thank you for that.
All right, then. Dr. Shonda, we surely appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. And we'll see what's next. Thanks a lot. All right, folks, got to go to a break. We come back more on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, including this strange story we're covering out of Missouri. This young black man shot in the head, found in the attic of white supremacists. Now the FBI has released their report on this. Also, Byron Allen's The Griot, the axe drops. Will tell you who got cut, what got cut. All that on coming up next on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. A lot of y'all have been asking me about the Pocket Square that we've available on our website. You see me rocking the Shabori Pocket Square right here. It's all about looking different. And look, summertime is coming up. Y'all know, I keep trying to tell fellas, change your look, please. You can't wear athletic shoes every damn wear. So if you're putting on linen suits, if you're putting on some summer suits, have a whole different look. The reason I like this particular Pocket Square, the Shabori, is because it's sort of like a flower and looks pretty cool here versus the traditional boring boring silk pocket squares. But also, I like being a little different as well. So this is why we have these custom-made feather pocket squares on the website as well. My sister actually designed these after a few years ago. I was in this battle with Steve Harvey at Essence, and I saw this at a St. Jude fundraiser. I saw this feather pocket square, and I said, "Well, I got some ideas." So I hit her, and she sent me about 30 different ones. And so this completely changes your look. Now, some of you men out there, I had some dudes say, "Oh man, I can't wear that." Well, if you ain't got swagger, that's not my problem. But if you looking for something different to spruce up your look, fellas, ladies, if y'all looking to get your man a good gift, I've run into brothers all across the country. Boy pocket square right here. It's all about looking different. And look, summertime is coming up. Y'all know, I keep trying to tell fellas, change your look, please. You can't wear athletic shoes every damn wear. So if you're putting on linen suits, if you're putting on some summer suits, have a whole different look. The reason I like this particular pocket square, the Sharpiro, because it's sort of like a flower and looks pretty cool here versus the traditional boring silk pocket squares. But also, I like being a little different as well. So this is why we have these custom-made feather pocket squares on the website as well. My sister actually designed these after a few years ago. I was in this battle with Steve Harvey at Essence, and I saw this at a St. Jude fundraiser. I saw this feather pocket square, and I said, "Well, I got some ideas." So I hit her, and she sent me about 30 different ones. And so this completely changes your look. Now, some of you men out there, I had some dudes say, "Oh man, I can't wear that." Well, if you ain't got swagger, that's not my problem. But if you're looking for something different to spruce up your look, fellas, ladies, if y'all looking to get your man a good gift, I've run into brothers all across the country with the feather pocket squares saying, "See, check mine out." And so it's always good to see them. And so this is what you do. Go to RollinsMartin.com/pocket squares. You can order Sharpiro pocket squares or the custom-made pocket squares. Now, for the Sharpiro, we're out of a lot of the different colors, and I think we're down to about 200 or 300. So you want to get your order in as soon as you can, because here's what happened. I got these several years ago, and the Japanese company signed a deal with another company, and I bought them before they signed that deal. And so I can't get access to any more from the company in Japan that makes them. And so get yours now. So come summertime, when I see y'all at Essence, y'all could be looking fly with the Sharpiro pocket square or the custom-made pocket square. Again, RollinsMartin.com/pocket squares. Go there now.
This is Reggie Rock Piper. You're watching
Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
May 19th, President Joe Biden is supposed to address the graduates of Morehouse College. Well, you've got some students as well as faculty not happy with that decision. This is a story from NBC here. It's on everybody's mind. Morehouse faculty and students raise concerns about Biden's graduation speech. Folks are not too particularly happy, obviously, with President Biden when it comes to what's happening in Israel and Gaza. The president of the university, as well as the provost, they've made it clear they are not going to rescind the invitation. Morehouse provost said, from our perspective, really having a sitting president come to Morehouse offers an incredible opportunity. This is something that is in line with Morehouse's mission and also with this objective of being a place that allows for engagement of social justice issues and moral concerns. Now, again, you have students as well as faculty both releasing letters saying that Morehouse should. Your thoughts on the criticism on the students and others who are saying that Biden should not speak and should Morehouse continue with this invitation?
Well, of course, it's up to Morehouse to make that decision. But with the history of Morehouse, with Dr. King and so many other great leaders who have went there and who have stood for social justice and stood for human rights, and we understand the sets of dynamics that are currently going on in the Middle East that are not in alignment with those beliefs that are infused into both the young men at Morehouse and Clark, sisters at Spelman and at Morris Brown. So we understand why young people are pushing back. We tell them to stand up and fight against injustice. So, having the president come and some of the actions that has done, of course, are going to create a situation where there's some irony from many of the students who are there. So I understand Morehouse's position. They have the president of the United States coming. It's great for fundraising.
Moms and grandmas here, aunts.
It's great to
Sunday best.
lift everything up. So, but you should listen to the voices of your students. They are the lifeblood of your institution, and be able to address whatever concerns they may have.
Understand that particular point there, but here's the deal here, Joe. President Barack Obama, he spoke at Morehouse in May 2013. If you talk to others, they'll talk about his drone attacks, impact on civilians, taking out Gaddafi in Libya. And so, do you sense here, Joe, there's a double standard between Obama and Biden?
Well, there's an argument there. Interestingly, the provost at Morehouse, Brother Kendrick Brown, actually was here at the University of Redlands, my undergrad alma mater, recently, right before getting to Morehouse. So I can imagine what he's wrestling with. And so, interestingly, talking to my daughter and kids her age, they were hard on Obama, even though Obama and the opportunities that he helped and the presentation of created and paved the way for them. People that age, professors, people in an intellectual environment where you're supposed to be stimulated, where you're supposed to speak up and speak out, et cetera, are going to have something to say about this. And so I think that assuming Biden gets the chance to speak there, I think he should directly address what's actually happening. Maybe this is an opportunity to actually build a bridge that right now is not built. I think that he's suffering from this politically, whether he ought to or not. I think he absolutely is. I think he needs to reconnect with this young demographic that's going to be vital for him to win. And I do think that given what we were able to accomplish over the years, the Civil Rights Act, 64, 65, the Voting Rights Act, the things that happened with who, by most accounts, was a racist president. I don't think that you keep dialogue from happening. And if you consider that part of the dialogue, I think you allow him to be there because we do want to be different than other places. However, we can still hold him accountable. We can still respectfully allow young people to speak out forcefully, but respectfully and with measure and with balance. It can be something that can be built upon. I don't say stop talking, but I say let's hear what he has to say and then what he does related to this very real situation that has the potential to hurt him as it's hurting the people that folks are talking about and speaking on behalf of.
Randy, last year, President Biden actually spoke at the Howard University graduation, and with him speaking there, give me 1 second. I want to pull this up. Like I said, he spoke there last year, and he, got some pushback from folks. And you had some students who were not happy with him speaking. There were several who stood up and actually protested, turned their back on him as he was speaking. And so that was, of course, quite interesting while that took place. And it wasn't a major demonstration, but you probably, if I remember, because my niece graduated, she was in the class. you probably had about 10, maybe 15 students who stood up. It might have been more. So it's not like he doesn't quite remember that. Randy?
Yes, I thought you were going to say something else. I'm sorry, Roland. I really actually
Do
am
you think
impressed
he
with the
should speak
students and
in?
that they are being citizens and they are participating in this democracy and they're keeping the conversation going. Isn't that why we send our young people to schools? And I also respect that Biden wants to come and that the university wants him to come because that's what a university is supposed to be. So my take is that he does indeed come, but like Joe said, and continues the conversation, but the students can absolutely let it be known respectfully what their issues are. And I respect them for being bold enough and involved enough to care about what's happening and to speak out on it. So I think this can be a win-win situation, but I would allow the president to come. And the president is always going to be controversial, right? I mean, it would be unlikely that someone who has so much power and touches so much of what we do day to day would not have some controversy. But I am so incredibly proud of those students at Morehouse that they're that involved in being good citizens of this country. They have the right to come.
All right, folks. Hold tight 1 second. Hold tight 1 second. We come back. Let's talk about what's happening at Columbia and other college campuses across the country. Some students have taken over a building on the Columbia campus. NYPD
I
is
asked
on the
you,
scene.
do you
Maybe moving in
that
to remove
Biden
them.
should
So
speak at
we're monitoring that.
Morehouse?
So we'll talk about that. When we come back right
Because
here
that
on
seems to be a
the Black Star
problem.
Network.
I
Don't
don't know
forget,
what's going
support
to
us in
happen
what we
if
do,
he
folks. Your
does.
support is
I think
critical
he should,
for us
but
to do the
hey,
work
who
that we
am
do.
I?
I'm going to tell you a bit later some changes with the griot. Look, we're the only folks out here, folks, doing the daily digital show for the African Americans. That's it. There's nothing on BET. There's nothing on TV One. You do not have a daily show on Revolt. You don't have anything on Aspire. You don't have anything on Afro. All of these black linear
Yeah,
networks, nothing. Nothing.
But we'll see what
So you get a lot of
happens.
weekly podcasts, but we're the only
Obama spoke
daily
there.
show
They didn't want
talking
him
about
to
the
speak,
issues
but
that
then
matter
they
to you
liked
every
it.
single day.
They'll get
So your
over it.
support is critical.
They
The goal is
will.
to get 20,000 of our fans contributing
Well,
on average $50 each.
doesn't look
That's
like anybody else is
$4.19
going to
a
come in.
month,
I got to finish
13
cooking,
cents a
believe
day.
it or not.
You contribute to this show. You're making all of this
If
possible,
you
not
can
just this
believe
show,
that,
but
I
also
have to
the other
finish
shows of the Black
cooking.
Star Network. Send your check and
So
money
I'm
order to
going
PO
to
Box
go, Miss Andrea. It
57196,
was good.
Washington, D.C.
Okay.
20037-0196.
I guess I will.
Cash App, $RM
Unless there's
Unfiltered,
something else
PayPal, R
you want to
Martin
talk about or
Unfiltered.
want to see,
Venmo is RM
I'll be happy
Unfiltered.
to do it
Zelle,
for
Roland
you.
at RolandSMartin.com, MartinUnfiltered.com. Don't forget to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. And we do not have many copies left. I told you 500 or so. Once they're all gone, or the first, they are gone. And so if you want to get your autographed copy of the first, President Barack Obama's road to the White House, as originally reported by Roland S. Martin, $10 plus $5.99 shipping and handling. Again, I would personally autograph those. You can order at RolandSMartin.com/the first. All the proceeds going right back into the show. So when you buy the book, you're supporting the show as well. All right, folks, back in a moment.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media
business, but there is the first.
I'm going to call. Yeah, I'm going to call it a night, honey. I got to finish doing my cooking because I took this meat out. I hate to do that. And I had it in the refrigerator 2 days. And meat and stuff is too expensive there. So have a good night. We'll chat one day this week. Later. Have a good night.